Hey there, YouTube. Happy holidays to all my followers and subscribers. Appreciate the interaction with my channel. The channel's been growing, not that fast, but steady wins the race. So anyways, what I want to do in this video is cover, today was a half day trading, not a whole lot of action, but there is something that actually took place I want to cover, and really that's the breakout that we just saw in gold. And I want to cover, this video is really going to be about gold bullion, gold mining stocks. We'll cover a little bit of the dollar, and then we'll look at silver, and we'll wrap up. But we're seeing a lot of bullishness in gold. And what I've been telling everyone, I've been bullish gold for a couple years now, and what I've been telling everyone is gold has been holding very strong, holding a lot of strength. And the reason why is because the stock market keeps making all-time new highs, and yet gold hasn't fallen. It's basically it's come down a little bit. It kind of came down to 1350 or sorry 1450, and just stopped and just held support right there. And we're now starting to see that move higher. So when you see gold or anything really holding strength when it shouldn't be, that's a sign that there's actually a lot of strength there, and there's a lot of buyers. There's a lot of people looking to buy something, and they are buying it. It's an accumulation. It's something to take note of. It basically shows that people are accumulating something when it should be falling, and yet it holds strength. And the dollar's been pretty strong all of 2019. The stock market's been moving higher all of 2019, and yet gold has really barely sold off and then held strength and is starting to move higher. So again, let's look at the bigger picture here. And this is, I want to explain why I keep saying gold is in a longer term bull market. And what you should be doing is buying at support. And that's what I've been doing. So here's gold bullion. Let's go ahead and look at the daily. Well, actually, let's look at the weekly. We'll start with the bigger picture. So this is, when you look at this pattern here, this is what you would call a rounding bottom. And this is a common theme that I'm actually seeing across a lot of stocks in the gold sector and silver. But just to pop that up real quick, here's your rounding bottom. It's basically, it's an accumulation pattern. It shows when something falls and it just starts to hold support and slowly make higher lows and then start to move higher and break out. And if we move this off to the side and look at gold, this is exactly what this pattern looks like on the weekly. Here's your, you come down back in 2013, and then we basically just rounded it out over this big, long consolidation period, and we're starting to move higher. So this move is just getting started. If you look at this bigger rounding bottom, this thing should break the all-time highs of $1,920 or whatever, because this is a really large consolidation pattern, an accumulation pattern, basically going back to really going back to 2013. So 6-7 year accumulation pattern, and it held strength, and we're starting to move higher. So if you look here, if I zoom in on the weekly, we've got this bull flag here. This is what I've been pointing out, and this is playing out across a lot of different stocks, but here's your bull flag, and here's a breakout on the weekly chart. So the week just broke out of the bull flag, and that is a confirmed breakout. I mean, let's look for volume to see that volume's there, but basically the weekly did confirm. So even if next week they sell this thing off and they close it, as long as it closes above this top resistance line on this flag, then we should start to see this thing move higher. And ultimately, I'm looking, the all-time highs are not that much higher, but we've got this 1570 level to contend with. And you can see here, that's the weekly where we were holding support for a little while back here in 2012. And we should run up and tag that. We haven't quite got there yet. You can see on the weekly we got close, but then it sold off. So if we get there, I think we'll probably break above it, and then that will be your next level of support, will be 1570. So if we get back above that 1570 mark on the weekly, then you're really looking at the old high as kind of the top of the trading range, and then 1570 is support. So it'll be anywhere in this zone right here would be your trading range. Let's look at the dollar. And you can see the dollar did break down. We had a breakdown right here, and we're having a kickback rally. So what we'd want to see to really give gold some tailwinds is that the dollar actually, this is kind of where the dollar stops on this kickback rally, and it starts to sell off. And continued weakness in the dollar should be continued strength in gold and gold mining stocks. The reason why I like gold mining stocks is because the gold pattern, the bullion pattern, the technicals on gold are very bullish. We have a new bull market. We have confirmed lower or higher lows and higher highs, and all the patterns are continuing to play out on the bullish side. You've got bull flags playing out, for a continuation move. So when you have the baseline, which is gold, in a bullish setup, then we look to the miners for leverage. And here's Barrett Gold, kind of the one, my proxy of choice for a larger position, just given the fact that it's one of the largest gold miners. You get a little more stability there, and you can play a larger position there. And you can see we had this is the hourly chart, but we've had this upward price channel that's been kind of working its way higher. We've had a couple spikes through that, but it's continued to, it's never closed above that. And we have a couple confirmations. You've got some, it started the channel here, held here, held again here. So 4 data points on the resistance line, and then the support we've got, really just 2 clusters. So, but we broke to the upside and closed to the upside today. So that's pretty bullish. This looks like it wants to maybe make it kind of a parabolic move higher potentially. And we're above this. You could see we have we tagged the horizontal trend line right here. This would be kind of your right there basically. And you can see we had some support right in here, and actually kind of a cluster right in there. Not great, but support. It held that right there as support, bounced off, came back. Here's where we tagged it as resistance. We've had reactions around this trend line. So, and then here it came back in again and held as resistance right there on that hourly candle. And today we broke above that and closed above that. So very strong price action in Barrett Gold, essentially just moving higher throughout the day, and pretty impulsively as well. So that is bullish. Let's look at the volume. The volume's not breakout volume, and that would make sense since today was, a shortened trading day, only a half day. Very bullish action and pretty good volume for only a half day. So we'll see what happens when we get the next full day on Thursday. And if we get continued movement, prices moving higher with kind of a volume spike, that's just more confirmation that gold is starting to break out. And this thing can really move. I mean, if you look back at the daily, we've been kind of in suppressed trading ranges for years now. And if you look back, I mean, this thing was up around the $55 range, and we could easily get back up there. And move higher. Nothing says that this ceiling here is will be the end of the run. This thing could continue to make a bull move higher. So again, bullish price action in Barrett Gold. And if you've been following this channel, I've been over the last few months, I've been rebuilding my position. So basically, I was buying gold all the way back down. Really, I started buying Barrett Gold down around this range, around this $11. I grabbed a little bit all the way down here in the support range. And then I held it, and it moved up, and I was profitable, but we still hadn't broken out. And there was several times where I said, okay, this looks like the breakout of the bigger channel, and then it was a fake out. Finally, it did break out, ran up really impulsively, and I actually sold my Barrett Gold position on this move higher. Okay, I didn't catch the full move, but I caught a big portion of it. We sold, I sold most of my position. I sold all my position actually as we moved up, And then as we started to pull back and make this flagging pattern, I noticed that we're making a bull flag pattern. So I started to build the position, rebuild the position, and add to it as we started to come along this support line. So all these little tags here that we hit and came down to this support line, I was adding to my Barrett Gold position and essentially rebuilt my entire position. And then we broke out and started to move higher. And since, that's really all she wrote. So we've, it's moving higher. It looks bullish. Everything's bullish. Again, I've been saying this. This is a bullish looking chart, and that's really the only way to play it. Let's move on to NUG. I've also added, built a position in NUG. Not nearly as large of a position, but NUG is a 3 times leveraged bull ETF. So it's leveraged against the gold miners, which essentially by 3 times leveraged against the gold miners, which to themselves are leveraged against gold. So you don't need a lot. You don't need a big position here to catch a rocket ship higher. And so far that's what this has been. I'm up over 10% on this position in not that long of a time. Not that long of time. So we were. I was when this thing broke out right here, it started to break higher. I noticed that it broke out of this wedge pattern, this bullish falling wedge or bull flag pattern. Came back and did a back test, and that's where I established my position. Was right here, right in this area, right along support. Again, buying close to risk. When you break out and back test, if you can buy it along support, it's a great objective area to buy something. And if it doesn't go your way and you're wrong, you can close it out for a small loss. And if you're right, you can catch the rocket ship higher. So far, that's what this has been. You can see it's up over 9.5% just today. Looking at the volume, not bad volume. Just for today, you can see. Look at the volume, and that's only a half day's worth of trading. So if this was a full day, this was probably going to end up being kind of a breakout volume candle, a breakout volume day. So pretty good volume for a half day. We'll wait and see. This thing's run pretty hard, so it could continue to run. I've seen this thing up 30% in a day, and it could easily get there. We'll look to be selling into that kind of strength. I mean, if there's a 30% up day, I'll definitely lighten my position. This is not something I'm looking to hold long term. This is a trade basically that I'm looking to ride this kind of rocket ship breakout move higher. If there's a pullback, you could add to this at support down here. So if this sells off, maybe we have a really strong selling day and we get down to 2470 or something, that would be an area that you could either add or start a position in this NUGT if you haven't already, if you don't have a position. GDXJ, this is a junior gold mining ETF. And basically this thing, I don't trade this too often, but I wanted to just look at it. I know a lot of people are interested in this. I wanted to pull up the chart. And again, going back to the rounding bottom, here's your rounding bottom. Just keep that in mind. And when you look at this chart, you can see this rounding bottom here. Okay, we've got this, we essentially just have this basing pattern over this time period, and we're starting to break higher. If you look at resistance lines, you've got a peak right here. You've also got a gap. Right in here is going to be, you can see, we've gapped up and down. It's right about there, I'd say. That is a potential support resistance line. You can see I get that from this cluster right here. Right in here, we kind of held that, and we overshot it right there, but that's okay, because usually when you see the overshoot on the hourly and then the next hour it collapsed below it, popped above it, collapsed below it. So it's right in that zone basically, whether it's there, whether it's right here at the top, it's right in that zone. And today we broke above that and closed above it. See the volume on the hourly, increasing volume. Notice that, you've got a breakout and you've got increasing volume. This is something that I always point out on like the Qs. Recently, we've had breakouts and we've had decreasing volume. That's not a confirmed breakout. That's not what you want to see when you have a breakout. When you have a breakout above a resistance line, you want to see buyers stepping in and rushing in to buy it because they think it's going even higher. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing increasing volume on the breakout. So if this thing, if this holds, you could look to add on maybe a little pullback down to this level. I don't know. It's a zone. I probably don't have my resistance line exact. So, you could watch that. But any kind of little pullback, as long as it just stops short right in this zone, that would be a spot you could add. But this GDXJ, if you zoom it out, I think we're in kind of we're in this trading range here. So you can see on the weekly, we've got some resistance up here, that it found, and that goes back. It's right there. There's a week right there. So there's a resistance on the weekly. A break above that puts us really back up to here, up to this 51.70 range. So just watch that. If this wants to break and run, then it's, we could be up there pretty quickly. GDX, which is the just the large gold mining ETF, not the juniors. Same kind of pattern. Here's your rounding bottom. It's starting to break higher. And again, we've had a breakout, basically. This is a confirmed breakout as well. You could mark it here. I don't trade this one either. I prefer, but right there is pretty clean. You can see here's your gap higher, and you had a support range. Again, a little cluster right in here. Here it held support. And then once we broke down, it was resistance. So here's your resistance mark. And then today we broke above that and closed above it. So, the point is we're moving up to the next trading range in gold and gold mining stocks. They've done kind of their homework down here below. They've proven to the market that they're holding, and there's more buyers coming in. And it looks like we're moving up to the next trading range in a lot of these things. So that's going to put us up in this range now. And down here is going to be support around the 28.40 or whatever. Silver. So silver is a lot of the time kind of like gold with a little more octane behind it. I also have a position in this SLV. And just to get a little bit of additional octane onto the precious metals trade. And this one, I've kind of marked this out. But again, this thing is doing the same thing. Rounding bottom. Here's your rounding bottom, and it's starting to break higher. The silver's this is not as clean of a chart. We've got some resistance up here at this 17 range. If I go to the daily, you can see that's kind of this day right here. If we go to the weekly, just to try to lay out these resistance areas, this could be a flag. You could see on the weekly we've got this kind of flagging right there. And here's 1 week, here's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, big down week right there. And then this week we broke above that and closed above it. So that is a breakout. Let's look at the volume just to confirm. Volume is not amazing. So, take it with a grain of salt. This breakout, you always want to take a breakout on a half day or a holiday or with a grain of salt. So I can't say without any doubt that this is just going to stick, but we'll know next week. If we hold this and move higher, then this is a breakout and we are going to stick. So that's it for the precious metals. I hope everyone has a great holiday, and hopefully you're able to use this information to take some action. We'll look at the we're going to look at the major indices. There probably won't be too much action for the rest of the week, but the following week we'll look at that and see where the indices want to go starting out the new year. So thanks everyone. Please hit that like button, and I'll catch you on the next video.